Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami Stackelhouse, Fibromyalgia Coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with Fibro Fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. You're listening to the Fibromyalgia Podcast with Tami Stackelhouse, Episode 0. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stackelhouse. In this trailer episode, I'm going to give you a little backstory on who I am and how this podcast came to be, as well as what you can expect in future episodes. First and foremost, I'm a fibromyalgia patient myself. I was diagnosed over 10 years ago in 2006. My fibromyalgia eventually got so bad that I ended up filing for Social Security disability in 2008. At the end of that year, my doctor introduced me to a health coach, and everything changed. I started feeling better, I had more energy, and I was experiencing less pain. A year later, in 2009, I became a health coach myself because I wanted to pass along the gift I'd been given to other fibromyalgia patients. I felt like I was carrying around this beautifully wrapped present in my hands, and I just wanted to share that with my fellow fibromyalgia warriors. Today, I almost never have fibromyalgia pain, and I have enough energy to do the things I want to do. You'll get to hear more of my story in depth in episode 3, but for now, just know that everything I'm sharing with you in this podcast are things I've used myself or with my clients to feel better. This podcast was born because a few things all came together at just the right time. Over the last decade, as I've done interviews, taught classes, spoke at events, done my Facebook Lives, people have always said that I should do more, teach more, speak more. Dr. Ginevra Lipton, author of the Fibro Manual and medical director of the Frida Center for Fibromyalgia, has been telling me for about 2 years now specifically that I should do a podcast. And, I've always had a lot on my plate, so whenever she would say that to me, I would just smile and laugh and sort of set the idea aside because it felt pretty overwhelming. Then about 6 months ago or so, after a particularly insistent conversation on an airplane with Dr. Lipton, I decided that I would just see if anybody would even be interested in listening to a podcast from me. I put a post out on my Facebook page. I asked the community if anybody will listen. And oh my goodness, the response was so overwhelming. In fact, I think it was the biggest response I have ever had to any post on my Facebook page in the 10 years I've had one. Now, the answer, of course, was yes. I did a little bit of research and found that I didn't have to do the podcast all by myself. I could get help. And so I specifically right now, I'm going to thank Sonia and Dan for helping with the technical aspects of this podcast, because if I hadn't found them, we wouldn't be here. The other thing I did was a little bit of research on the podcasts that are available on fibromyalgia. Most of them were patient stories. One was actually an audio diary from one specific patient. Another one had different episodes on different patients. I found that there were episodes here and there from folks like the Mayo Clinic and other colleges and organizations. There were several podcasts that used to be educational and seemed to have faded away. And there really was nothing that was 100% devoted to fibromyalgia education and that featured our top doctors, researchers, and advocates in the fibromyalgia community. And so here we are. In this podcast, that's exactly what I'll be doing. I'm going to be interviewing those top doctors, researchers, experts, coaches, patient advocates, all in the fibromyalgia community, as well as working my usual coaching magic. Every 10 episodes, I'm going to do a special Ask the Coach episode where I will answer questions sent in by you, the listeners. In fact, you can go ahead and start sending those questions in anytime. I'm going to be recording that 10th episode before we know it, I'm sure. The whole purpose of this podcast is to encourage hope and to educate you on ways you can improve your fibromyalgia symptoms. It is unique because the focus isn't just on helping you feel less alone or on helping you learn how to live with your diagnosis. We are absolutely doing those things, of course, but my primary focus is teaching you how you can feel better. After all, that's what we all want, right, as fibromyalgia patients, to feel better and live the lives we want to live. In addition, I'm going to be sharing some before and after stories to inspire you and show you what is possible. And I am going to coach you the same way I have coached my clients over the last decade. Many people have asked me what podcasts are and how they work. And if you found this in your podcast app, of course, you already know. But for those of you who are listening through my website or on social media, podcasts are basically just talk radio shows that you can listen to anytime, anywhere, on any device. You can listen through an app on your smartphone or on the Fibromyalgia Podcast website. Since I know all about fibro fog, I'm going to give full show notes for each episode at fibromyalgiapodcast.com, including any links and resources mentioned in the show. That way you don't have to worry about taking notes because we don't multitask well, right? Taking notes while you're listening just does not work. And you also don't have to try to remember. I'm also planning on posting each of these episodes on YouTube for those of you who prefer to watch instead of listen. In the next few episodes, I'm going to be talking with experts like Dr. Ginevra Lipton on the current science and our understanding of fibromyalgia. I'm also going to cover some basic topics for me, things that I talk about over and over again, such as the role that we have as patients in our own healthcare, why your body isn't actually the enemy. I'm going to talk about what a fibromyalgia coach is and does, and how self-care isn't really about the things you do. It's something else entirely. I've got a lot of great episodes lined up, and I really hope that you'll join me. If you have fibromyalgia and feel like a prisoner in your own body, be sure to subscribe. You can do that on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And join me for each episode as I explore a variety of solutions that will help you create a life you love that supports you feeling your best. Your world doesn't have to revolve around your illness. It can revolve around your healing. See you soon for our first full episode. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. If you're ready to see if working with a fibromyalgia coach can help you feel better faster, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com, where you can schedule a complimentary consultation to explore your options. During this call, we'll discuss your fibromyalgia journey, what your needs and challenges are, and give you recommendations on how to reach your goals the quickest way possible. Thank you for tuning in today, and join us next time as we explore more ways to help you take back control of your life and health. My music and sound editing were done by Daniel Munkus at Subtle Soup Records. Podcast management and creative copy by Sonia Louise of Performance Podcasting.